But first tonight, the ongoing Hillary Clinton email scandal and its potential to make an already tighter than expected Democratic primary race even closer. We have Fox team coverage tonight of the presidential campaign. Carl Cameron is here in New Hampshire as Republicans are buzzing about a conservative endorsement for Donald Trump and an attack on Ted Cruz by a popular governor. But we begin with Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge back in Washington and a blockbuster letter spelling out more potential problems for Hillary Clinton. Good evening, Catherine.
Brett, as the FBI investigation expands, confirmation tonight from a senior government watchdog that Mrs. Clinton's email problems are much worse than previously reported.
According to this letter, first obtained by Fox News, Hillary Clinton's emails on her unsecured personal server contained intelligence from the U.S. government's most secretive and highly classified operations, called Special Access Programs, or SAPs.
These are the crown jewels of the American intelligence community of the United States government.
The intelligence community's Inspector General, Charles McCullough III, notified congressional oversight committees on January 14th. The letter says a comprehensive review by the intelligence agencies, who have final say on classification matters, found, quote, several dozen emails containing classified information at the confidential, secret, and top secret /SAP levels. That is even more sensitive than top secret and brings new scrutiny to the presidential candidate's handling of government secrets.
If this information is compromised, we're going to suffer very serious national security damage. There's no mistake. You don't accidentally stumble across it and not realize what it is.
Access to these programs is highly restricted and on a need-to-know basis only. The State Department spokesman had not seen the letter, but added,
there are reviews and investigations going on about past email practices here at the department, and I am simply not at liberty to discuss the content.
The new findings are striking, given Clinton's first public statement about her personal server.
There is no classified material, so I'm certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
According to court documents, former CIA Director David Petraeus was prosecuted for sharing special access program intelligence with his biographer Paula Broadwell. Both Petraeus and then Secretary of State Clinton were required to sign non-disclosure agreements promising to protect special access programs with the understanding that a failure to do so has significant legal consequences.
This is a real test for the administration as to whether they're going to apply the law in a fair and equal way and treat Hillary Clinton the same way that David Petraeus was treated.
A new email first obtained by the Daily Caller shows the State Department knew about the personal account as early as August 2011, and suggestions to use a government BlackBerry and a .gov account were rejected by Mrs. Clinton's aide, Huma Abedin. Brett.
Catherine, thank you.
These are the crown jewels of the American intelligence community of the United States government. If this information is compromised, we're going to suffer very serious national security damage. You cannot have special access program information sitting out in the open.
If I were Hillary Clinton's criminal defense lawyer, I would treat this situation with grave urgency, because the conduct that we've now seen she is engaged in is the same type of conduct that led the Justice Department to charge David Petraeus.
Our lead story about emails, the Inspector General from the intelligence community saying emails on Hillary Clinton's unsecure server included SAP, special access programs. That's more secret than even top secret emails. This comes as new polls are out here in New Hampshire. Check out this poll, the CNN MUR poll. Bernie Sanders up 27 points. He gained 10 points since December. Clinton has dropped 7. Now look at the RCP average, Real Clear Politics average here in New Hampshire. You can see that Sanders does have still a significant lead here in New Hampshire. That's the average of recent polls. Take a look at Iowa, and you can see it's neck and neck in Iowa, with Sanders closing the gap there in recent days. So let's bring in our panel from Washington. Tucker Carlson, host of Fox and Friends Weekend. Mara Liasson, national political correspondent of National Public Radio, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. Tucker, let's start with the emails and this Democratic race.
This is it. This is the smoking gun. Keep in mind, this memo was produced not by a conservative news outlet, but by a professional investigator who works for the Obama executive branch, and it shows conclusively that dozens of the very most secret possible data points in possession of the U.S. government wound up on an unsecured server, which, by the way, the U.S. intelligence community believes was penetrated by foreign intelligence services. I spoke to someone right before the show who's been covering this who said if this were a member of the uniformed military who'd done this, or a CIA operations officer, they'd be in jail. right now. It's impossible to talk our way out of this. I think this is a pivot point in the Democratic race.
Mark, can we clearly say now that what she said at the beginning of this controversy was not true about the classified emails?
She said there was never classified information on her private server, and now we have an inspector general saying yes, there was, and it was pretty high-level classified information. What we haven't heard from the Clinton campaign or her lawyers yet, but she really needs to explain this. I mean, if it's true, it's extremely serious.
And serious for this race, Mark?
Oh, serious for this race. No, absolutely. She conceivably could still end up getting the nomination even with this information out there, even with an indictment, but she'd be a very, very wounded, almost, I think, mortally wounded general election candidate if that happens.
Charles.
What people have to understand is that there is nothing higher, more secret than an SAP. And that, from some people I've talked to, this is worse than what Snowden did, because he didn't have access to SAP. And if this is compromised, this is so sensitive that the reason it is that as a result, if it's compromised, people die. It also means that operations that have been embedded for years and years get destroyed and cannot be reconstituted. This is very serious. Petraeus, as was mentioned earlier, he pled guilty because precisely of this kind of information he shared. And I don't see, given the fact that he's the Inspector General of the intelligence community who is writing this officially to the Intelligence Committee heads in Congress, that there is any way to contradict this. It's not a news story. This is an investigative story. And now it's in the hands of the FBI. It's hard to imagine that the Department of Justice will ignore this or wave it away.
Yeah.